Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel, The Langue-lit World. I'm Professor K.V. Kure. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the American English literature and its historical background. Guys, we know that the British English literature has ages. The same way, the American English literature also has some ages that we are going through them in this video. Actually, guys, I'd like to tell you that this video deals with the introduction to American English literature in brief, and it will be a series of videos in which I will deal with each and every age. Okay, but let us deal with the first age. But before that, I'd like to introduce what American English literature is. The American English literature is the age, or it is a kind of literature which was written during and after colonization in the US, United States of America. Guys, this age tells us how colonization started in America. This age tells us how American literature started from the oral literature. Also, the most important thing, this age tells us how America was discovered by Columbus and how he was founded. All things will be discussed. Besides this, we know that each and every age is dominated by literary artists. This age also tells us or talks about some artists. Anne Bradstreet, then William Bradford. Other writers include Edward Taylor, Michael Wigglesworth, Samuel Sewell, and Mary Rowlandson. Guys, besides this, I'd like to tell you that the American English literature also was dominated by the southern and middle part of America. And the writers are William Byrd and Robert Beverly. The second age in the field of American literature is democratic origins and revolutionary writing that ran from 1776 to 1820. Friends, this age tells us how Americans fought against Britain for 9 years successively. This age tells us how books were criticized in England. I'm talking about the American books, how the American books were criticized in England at that time. Also, this age tells us how America took 50 years long period to produce its first generation of American writers. Writers include Washington Irving, Jones Fenimore Cooper, then R.W. Emerson, H.D. Thoreau, then Herman Melville, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and last one Edgar Allan Poe. Also, friends, this is the age that witnesses the most important thing, that it is America that took 50 years long period to get its cultural independence. So these were the most important thing that we had to focus on. Okay, besides this, this is the period that tells us how American writers started writing and they paid to the editors to get their books published. Okay, it is the period that talks about the Enlightenment. It is Enlightenment writers and thinkers who talked about different kinds of things such as justice, liberty, and equality. According to them, justice, equality, and liberty are the things that are rights of a man. Such writers include Benjamin Franklin, St. John D. Crevecoeur. Friends, besides this, we have another name which is very popular in the history of American English literature, that is Thomas Paine, who wrote political pamphlets during this period. Also, guys, this period is very popular for neoclassicism, which brought mock, epic, and satire in this period. Actually, this form was new for all American writers. They struggled a lot with this elegant new poetic form, but they tried to manage with this. Friends, this is the period that tells us how mock epic encouraged, motivated the American writers to write down American literature using their own voice. And this is a kind of quality for any writer who writes literature. Okay, besides this, This literature, actually the period, talks about a revolutionary writer. His name is Philip Freneau. Guys, in the field of fiction, okay, we have some things that can be discussed here. What are the things? See, in the field of fiction, writers use different kinds of subjects. American subjects, historical perspectives, subjects of change, we can say, and nostalgic tones also. This American writing was dominated by women writers. Minority writing also was popular there. This writing was done by Anne Bradstreet, Anne Hutchinson, Anne Carton, and Sarah Kimball Knight. These were the women writers who influenced not only literature but also society. Besides this, we must not forget a great name in the field of American English literature. That is the name of, Phyllis Wheatley, who was a slave, who started the Afro-American writing for the first time. So that is why she is known as the first woman who wrote Afro-American writing. The third period that deals with the Romanticism, the Romantic period. Guys, when we talk about Romantic period, we just think of Bollywood movies. But we are not talking about Bollywood movies, but we are talking about the American Romantic period that lasted from 1820 to 1860. This period tells us how Romanticism traveled from France to Britain, from Britain to America. This is the period that tells us how Transcendentalism came forward to attack the Enlightenment view, that is rationalism. Transcendentalism attacked rationalism critically. The writers include H.D. Thoreau, R.W. Emerson, and Paul Whitman. Besides this, there is a group which was popular during that period. The group is known as the Boston Brahmin Poets. The Boston Brahmin Poets include Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, James Russell Lowell, and Oliver Wendell Holmes. Guys, another person who was popular during this period and who was one of the most active poets during this era is known as John Grimleaf Whittier. Another name which is popular during this period, that is Margaret Fuller. Margaret Fuller was a social reformer. She was a feminist. Next name, which is the most popular person of this period, the person is named as Emily Dickinson, and that is studied all over the world in studies at graduate and PG level. Friends, Emily Dickinson was a poet. She was a radical individualist as well. The Romantic period in the American English literature is not only confined to poetry writing and essay writing. It is also related to what we call fiction. In this age, a new form of fiction came into existence that is known as romance. That showed the society that is the American society, needed a stable society, and it suggested the society, if they wanted to create identity at the time, they needed social equality, social stability, and this was shown throughout literature by Herman Melville, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and Edgar Allan Poe. American literature is very popular. Actually, I am talking about the Romantic period fiction. In this period, what happened? Women writers became aggressive. They reacted against the society. Actually, they became reformers. How come? See, they tell or express throughout their works that they faced inequality in the society. They wanted to attack on the patriarchal society of the time. So they wrote literature. They tell us how they were barred from what we call voting, how they were kept away from professional education. They were not allowed to take higher education. They were not allowed to speak in the public as well. And very torturous thing is that they were not allowed to own their property. So against these things, some women came forward and they tried to attack the society throughout the literature. They are Harriet Beecher Stowe, Harriet Wilson, Harriet Jacob, and Frederick Douglass. So in this way, these people came together to bring equality amongst men and women.